Most people are waiting for life to change, waiting for the right moment, the right opportunity, the right break. They tell themselves that someday things will be different, that someday they'll feel ready, confident, or motivated enough to begin. But while they wait, time moves on, and nothing changes because nothing inside them has changed. The truth is, life doesn't respond to waiting. It responds to action. And action doesn't come from comfort, it comes from decision. The most dangerous place a person can live is not failure, it is familiarity. Familiar problems, familiar excuses, familiar limits. You can survive there for years and slowly forget that you were meant for more. Every result you see around you right now, your habits, your income, your confidence, your direction, is simply evidence of who you have been, not a verdict on who you must remain. The past is not a prison, it is a lesson. And today is not just another day, it is a doorway. The question is not whether life will challenge you. It will. The real question is whether you will rise to meet those challenges as the same person you have been, or whether you will make the decision that changes everything, the decision to rebuild yourself. Personal responsibility is the moment a person stops negotiating with reality and starts owning it. It is the clear understanding that where you are today is not the result of chance, luck, or the actions of others alone, but largely the outcome of your decisions, attitudes, and responses over time. This idea is uncomfortable for many people because it removes excuses, but it is also the most empowering realization a person can have. The instant you accept responsibility, you reclaim control. Before that moment, life feels like something that happens to you. After it, life becomes something you shape. Most people want change without ownership. They want better results, but refuse to examine their habits. They want growth, but resist accountability. Responsibility does not mean blaming yourself harshly or living in regret. It means recognizing cause and effect. Every action produces a result, and every repeated action becomes a pattern. When someone understands this, they stop asking why life is unfair and start asking what they can do differently. That shift alone can change the trajectory of a life. Taking responsibility also means accepting that waiting for others to change is a losing strategy. If your progress depends on someone else behaving differently, you are powerless. Responsibility returns power to where it belongs, with you. You may not control the economy, your past, or the actions of others, but you always control your response, your effort, and your standards. This understanding creates maturity, because mature people don't waste energy on blame, they invest it in improvement. Many people confuse responsibility with burden, but it is actually freedom. When you stop blaming circumstances, you stop being trapped by them. You begin to see problems as signals rather than punishments. Financial struggle becomes a lesson in skill development and discipline. Relationship challenges become lessons in communication and emotional intelligence. Failure becomes feedback. Responsibility turns life into a classroom instead of a courtroom. This principle also exposes self-deception. It forces honesty. You can no longer pretend that procrastination is caused by lack of time, or that stagnation is caused by lack of opportunity. Responsibility reveals that progress often requires doing what is uncomfortable, unfamiliar, or inconvenient. It challenges the belief that motivation comes first, replacing it with the truth that action creates motivation. Once you accept responsibility, you stop waiting to feel ready and start acting ready. Personal responsibility builds character. It develops reliability, because people who own their choices become dependable. It develops confidence, because confidence grows from keeping promises to yourself. Each time you choose discipline over comfort, you reinforce the belief that you can trust yourself. Over time, this self-trust becomes the foundation of leadership, influence, and self-respect. Responsibility also clarifies priorities. When you accept that your future is shaped by your daily decisions, you begin to value time differently. You become more selective about what you tolerate and what you allow to distract you. Entertainment loses its grip. Excuses lose their appeal. You start asking whether an action moves you closer to the person you are trying to become. This awareness naturally raises your standards. There is also humility in responsibility. It requires admitting that you don't know everything and that you have made mistakes. But humility is not weakness, it is openness to growth. When a person accepts responsibility, learning accelerates. Feedback is no longer taken personally, it is taken seriously. Correction becomes valuable instead of offensive. This mindset is what separates people who repeat the same year of their life over and over from those who evolve. Responsibility does not deny external challenges, it simply refuses to let them define the outcome. Two people can face the same situation and produce entirely different results based on how they respond. One looks for reasons, the other looks for solutions. One waits, the other prepares. Responsibility is the internal decision to be the second person, to act as a cause rather than an effect, to build rather than complain, to choose growth even when it demands sacrifice, effort, patience, and an unwavering commitment to becoming better than yesterday. Your philosophy is the quiet force running your life, whether you are aware of it or not. It is the collection of beliefs, values, assumptions, and interpretations through which you see the world and yourself. Long before results appear, philosophy is already at work, shaping decisions, influencing behavior, and determining what you expect from life. People often focus on tactics and strategies, but philosophy comes first. If the inner framework is weak or confused, no amount of effort will produce lasting success. Every action begins as a thought, and repeated thoughts solidify into beliefs. Over time, these beliefs become rules you live by. If you believe that life is unfair, you will approach challenges defensively. If you believe effort doesn't matter, you will quit early. If you believe growth is possible, you will persist. Philosophy quietly decides how much you try, how long you endure, and how seriously you take responsibility. It determines whether you see obstacles as signs to stop or signals to improve. Many people inherit their philosophy without examination. It comes from parents, peers, culture, past failures, and emotional experiences. A single discouraging moment can plant a belief that lasts for years. A careless comment can become a lifelong limit. When beliefs go unchallenged, they turn into invisible ceilings. People then wonder why their lives do not expand, unaware that their thinking never did. A strong philosophy does not deny difficulty, it prepares you for it. It teaches that effort precedes reward, and that progress is often slow before it becomes visible. With the right philosophy, setbacks don't feel personal. They feel expected. When you expect difficulty, you don't panic when it arrives. You adjust, you learn, you continue. This mental framework creates stability in uncertain conditions, which is why some people remain calm while others collapse under pressure. Your philosophy also determines what you tolerate. What you allow repeatedly becomes your standard. If you tolerate excuses, mediocrity becomes normal. If you tolerate dishonesty with yourself, self-respect erodes. On the other hand, when your philosophy demands integrity, growth, and discipline, your behavior rises to meet it. Life rarely rises above the level of the standards you enforce internally. Beliefs shape identity. How you see yourself influences what you attempt. A person who believes they are capable will act differently than one who believes they are limited. Identity is not fixed, it is reinforced by philosophy and behavior working together. When your philosophy changes, your identity begins to shift. You stop seeing yourself as someone who hopes and start seeing yourself as someone who builds. This change is subtle at first, but it eventually alters everything. Philosophy also controls patience. People with shallow beliefs want fast results and immediate rewards. When those rewards don't appear, they quit. People with a mature philosophy understand that worthwhile outcomes compound over time. They stay consistent when enthusiasm fades. They keep planting even when there is no visible harvest. This patience is not passive, it is active endurance fueled by belief. Your future does not respond to wishes, it responds to alignment. When your philosophy supports discipline, responsibility, and learning, your daily actions align with long-term goals. When philosophy and action conflict, internal resistance appears. People then feel stuck not because they lack ability, but because their beliefs are working against their ambitions. Change becomes exhausting when philosophy is outdated. Upgrading your philosophy requires reflection and honesty. It means questioning assumptions and asking whether they serve the life you want. It means replacing emotional conclusions with deliberate principles. This process is uncomfortable because it dismantles familiar thinking, but it is necessary. Growth begins when old beliefs are retired. A refined philosophy does not guarantee an easy life, but it guarantees a meaningful one. It gives direction when motivation disappears and clarity when circumstances are confusing. It becomes an internal compass that guides decisions without constant external validation. Over time, results follow not because of luck or chance, but because your thinking has been shaped to support progress, resilience, and continuous improvement. Discipline is often misunderstood as restriction, but in reality it is self-respect in action. It is the decision to do what needs to be done, even when emotion, comfort, or convenience suggest otherwise. Transformation does not happen in moments of inspiration. It happens in moments of choice repeated consistently. Discipline is what turns intention into behavior and behavior into identity. Without it, goals remain ideas. With it, change becomes inevitable. Most people wait for motivation, believing it is the fuel for progress. Discipline reverses that belief. Action comes first and motivation follows. When you act despite resistance, you train your mind to obey your commitments rather than your moods. This creates internal order. Each disciplined action strengthens your ability to act again, making the next decision slightly easier. Over time, what once required effort becomes part of who you are. Discipline operates in small, often invisible ways. It is choosing to wake up when the alarm rings, to practice when no one is watching, to prepare when others procrastinate. These choices seem insignificant in isolation, but they compound. Just as small neglects quietly erode progress, small disciplines quietly build power. The gap between who you are and who you want to become is usually filled not by grand actions, but by daily consistency. There is a cost to discipline, but there is a greater cost to its absence. Avoiding discomfort today creates heavier discomfort tomorrow. Missed opportunities, unfulfilled potential, and regret are the interest paid on a lack of discipline. People often underestimate this cost because it accumulates slowly. Discipline demands effort up front, but it pays dividends in confidence, competence, and control. Discipline also creates freedom. When you master yourself, external pressures lose their grip. You are no longer driven by impulse or distraction. Your time becomes intentional rather than reactive. This freedom is not the freedom to do whatever you want, it is the freedom to do what matters. The disciplined person is not controlled by circumstance, because their inner structure is strong. The bridge metaphor is powerful because intention alone cannot carry you across. Everyone has desires, goals, and plans. Discipline is what allows those desires to reach reality. Without the bridge, intentions remain stranded on the side of imagination. With it, progress moves forward steadily even when the path is long. Discipline does not require perfection, it requires commitment. Missing a day is not failure, but quitting is. Discipline builds identity. Each time you keep a promise to yourself, you reinforce the belief that you are reliable. This self-trust becomes the foundation of confidence. Confidence is not loud or arrogant. It is quiet certainty built through repeated follow-through. People who appear disciplined are not born that way. They earned it by choosing consistency when no one rewarded them immediately. There will always be reasons not to act. Fatigue, doubt, fear, and distraction are constant companions. Discipline does not eliminate these forces. It simply refuses to let them decide. It trains you to act in alignment with values rather than emotions. This is especially important during periods when progress is slow and results are invisible. Discipline carries you through the valley until the view changes. Discipline must be guided by purpose. Empty discipline becomes burnout. When effort is connected to meaning, endurance increases. Knowing why you are disciplined gives strength to continue when enthusiasm fades. This connection transforms routine into ritual and effort into investment. Purpose gives discipline direction, preventing it from becoming mechanical or draining. Transformation is not dramatic, it is methodical. Discipline does not announce itself. It works quietly, shaping habits, sharpening focus, and strengthening character. Over time, the person who once struggled to begin becomes the person others admire for consistency. The bridge remains the same, but the one who crosses it is no longer the same person who started. Adversity enters life without invitation and often without explanation. It disrupts plans, challenges identity, and exposes weakness. Most people see it as an enemy, something to avoid, curse, or escape. But adversity is not designed to destroy, it is designed to instruct. When viewed correctly, difficulty becomes a teacher, pressure becomes a trainer, and setbacks become lessons that cannot be learned in comfort. Life does not grow people through ease, it shapes them through resistance. Every challenge carries information. It reveals what you value, how you think, and where you are unprepared. When things are smooth, character remains largely hidden. Under pressure, truth emerges. Patience is tested, discipline is exposed, and belief is either strengthened or shaken. Adversity does not create weakness. It reveals it so it can be addressed. In this way, difficulty becomes feedback rather than failure. People who avoid adversity also avoid growth. Comfort encourages stagnation. When everything is predictable, there is no demand to adapt, learn, or stretch. Adversity interrupts this cycle. It forces new decisions and demands new skills. Financial hardship teaches resourcefulness and discipline. Loss teaches appreciation and emotional depth. Failure teaches humility and strategy. These lessons are rarely welcome, but they are always valuable. The difference between those who rise and those who break is interpretation. When adversity is seen as a curse, it breeds bitterness. When it is seen as a classroom, it produces wisdom. Two individuals can face the same hardship and emerge entirely different. One becomes resentful and stuck. The other becomes sharper and stronger. The event is the same, but the lesson is optional. Adversity also strips away illusion. It removes false confidence built on comfort and replaces it with earned confidence built on endurance. When you survive difficulty, your belief in yourself changes. You no longer rely on hope alone, you rely on evidence. You have proof that you can endure discomfort, solve problems, and adapt under pressure. This kind of confidence cannot be taught. It must be experienced. There is also discipline hidden inside adversity. Hard seasons demand structure. They require focus, prioritization, and consistency. When resources are limited, waste becomes obvious. When time is tight, excuses lose credibility. Adversity forces clarity. It exposes what matters and eliminates what does not. Many people discover their true priorities not in abundance, but in lack. Adversity teaches patience in a world addicted to speed. Growth under pressure is rarely immediate. It requires persistence without reassurance. This waiting period strengthens inner resolve. It trains the mind to stay steady even when results are delayed. People who learn patience through adversity gain an advantage because they are not easily discouraged by slow progress or temporary setbacks. There is also empathy born from adversity. Struggle softens judgment and deepens understanding. Those who have faced difficulty are less likely to dismiss the pain of others. They listen better. They lead with compassion rather than arrogance. Adversity humanizes ambition and grounds success in perspective. It reminds people that strength is not loud and resilience is not showy. Avoiding adversity may feel like safety, but it is limitation. Growth requires exposure to challenge the way muscles require resistance. Without strain, there is no strengthening. Without difficulty, there is no development. Life applies pressure not to punish, but to prepare. The weight is adjusted to what you are capable of becoming, not just what you are now. Adversity also refines purpose. Easy paths rarely demand clarity. Hard paths force it. When things go wrong, you are compelled to ask deeper questions about why you continue, what matters enough to endure discomfort, and who you are becoming in the process. Purpose discovered in adversity is stronger because it has been tested. Those who learn from adversity do not wish it away, they extract value from it. They ask better questions instead of louder complaints. What is this teaching me? What must improve? What strength is being developed? This mindset transforms hardship into preparation and pain into progress, allowing difficulty to become a shaping force rather than a stopping point. Self-development is not an event or a phase. It is a lifelong commitment to becoming more capable, aware, and intentional with each passing year. The moment a person believes they have arrived, growth stops. Life continues to move, but the individual does not, and stagnation quietly takes its place. Continuous development is what keeps a person relevant, resilient, and adaptable in a changing world. From the beginning, growth has no finish line. There is always another level of understanding, skill, and maturity available. Circumstances evolve, responsibilities expand, and challenges become more complex. A mindset that once worked may no longer be sufficient. Lifelong self-development ensures that inner capacity grows alongside external demands, preventing overwhelm and frustration. Learning is central to this process. Knowledge sharpens perspective and expands options. Those who continue learning remain flexible rather than rigid. They are willing to update their thinking, question assumptions, and refine their approach. This openness protects against becoming outdated, not just professionally but personally. Growth requires humility, the willingness to admit that there is more to learn and more to improve. Self-development also involves emotional growth. As people mature, they must learn to manage stress, communicate clearly, and regulate reactions. Intelligence without emotional control creates conflict. Skill without self-awareness creates imbalance. Lifelong development integrates competence with character, ensuring that progress does not come at the cost of integrity or relationships. The process of continuous improvement builds self-respect. Each effort to grow reinforces the belief that life is worth investing in. Small upgrades accumulate over time, creating a version of yourself that can handle more responsibility and produce better results. This progression is not rushed. It unfolds gradually, often unnoticed, until reflection reveals how far you have come. Consistency matters more than intensity. Short bursts of effort followed by long periods of neglect create frustration. Lifelong development thrives on steady attention. Reading regularly, practicing skills, reflecting honestly, and adjusting habits produce compound growth. These actions may seem ordinary, but their long-term impact is extraordinary. Self-development also prepares you for uncertainty. The future is unpredictable, but personal growth increases adaptability. When skills, mindset, and awareness are continuously refined, change becomes less threatening. Challenges are met with curiosity rather than fear. This readiness creates confidence that is not dependent on stable conditions. There is also responsibility involved in growth. Developing yourself is not selfish, it is necessary. The better you become, the more value you can offer others. Stronger thinking improves leadership. Better communication strengthens relationships. Greater discipline creates reliability. Growth expands your capacity to contribute, not just consume. Lifelong development guards against complacency. Comfort is appealing, but it slowly erodes ambition. When effort is no longer required, appreciation fades. Growth reintroduces challenge and purpose, keeping life engaging. It provides a reason to stretch, to strive, and to remain mentally alive. Self-development requires reflection. Without reflection, experience is wasted. Taking time to evaluate decisions, outcomes, and behavior turns experience into wisdom. This practice prevents repeating the same mistakes and accelerates improvement. Reflection is the difference between aging and maturing. There will be periods when growth feels slow or unnecessary. These are the moments when commitment matters most. Development is not always exciting, but it is always valuable. Even when external rewards are absent, internal progress continues. This quiet improvement shapes character and strengthens resilience. A lifelong approach to self-development accepts imperfection. Growth does not demand flawlessness, it demands effort. Setbacks do not negate progress, they inform it. Each lesson adds depth, perspective, and strength. Over time, the accumulation of learning, discipline, and awareness creates a life that is not accidental but intentionally built, capable of adapting, contributing, and evolving as long as life continues to unfold. Everything in life responds to who you are more than to what you want. Circumstances, opportunities, and outcomes are reflections of inner conditions. When people attempt to change results without changing themselves, frustration follows. Effort feels heavy, progress feels temporary, and success feels unstable. The most effective way to change the outside is to upgrade the inside, because life does not rise to the level of desire, it aligns with the level of personal development. Change begins internally with awareness. Awareness exposes habits, patterns, and beliefs that quietly shape daily decisions. Without this awareness, people repeat the same behaviors while expecting different outcomes. When awareness grows, choice expands. You begin to notice how your thinking influences your actions and how your actions influence your results. This clarity is the foundation of meaningful change. When you improve your mindset, perception changes. Challenges no longer feel like threats, they feel like assignments. Failure becomes information instead of identity. With a stronger mindset, obstacles do not disappear, but your response improves. This improved response alters the direction of events. What once stopped you now shapes you. What once discouraged you now instructs you. Upgrading yourself also means refining skills. Skills increase value. When your skills improve, opportunities respond. Employers, clients, and collaborators are drawn to competence and reliability. Life rewards capability because capability solves problems. As you become more useful, doors open that were previously invisible. This is not luck, it is alignment between preparation and opportunity. Character development is equally powerful. Integrity, discipline, and consistency create trust. Trust multiplies impact. People are more willing to invest in, support, and follow those who demonstrate strong character. When character improves, relationships improve. When relationships improve, environments improve. The external world begins to reflect internal standards. Habits play a critical role in this transformation. Habits are the daily expression of identity. When habits change, behavior changes. When behavior changes, results change. The process is gradual but predictable. Small improvements repeated over time create visible shifts in health, productivity, and confidence. Life adjusts to these changes because patterns have changed. Upgrading yourself also reshapes expectations. You begin to expect more from your effort and less from excuses. This shift raises standards. Higher standards influence choices. Choices influence outcomes. The external world responds to the internal demand you place on yourself. When you settle for less internally, life mirrors that settlement. When you demand growth, life presents challenges that match it. Self-improvement also increases resilience. When you invest in mental strength and emotional control, external pressure loses its power. Stress becomes manageable. Criticism becomes information. Uncertainty becomes navigable. This resilience changes how you experience life, even if circumstances remain the same. The same environment feels different when you are different. As you evolve, your environment often changes naturally. People who no longer align with your standards may drift away. New opportunities and relationships appear. This is not rejection, it is realignment. Growth alters compatibility. When you change yourself, the world reorganizes around the new version of you. There is also a sense of momentum that develops. Progress fuels progress. As you see evidence of improvement, confidence increases. Increased confidence encourages bolder action. Bolder action produces stronger results. This cycle continues, driven not by external validation but by internal growth. Changing yourself does not guarantee an easy life, but it guarantees a controllable one. You may not choose every circumstance, but you choose how prepared you are to meet it. Life responds accordingly. Effort becomes more effective. Challenges become manageable. Opportunities become accessible. The external world shifts because the internal foundation has been strengthened, and life has no choice but to respond to the person you have become. As we come to the end, remember this: your life will never rise above the level of the person you choose to become. Circumstances may influence you, but they do not define you. Responsibility gives you control, philosophy gives you direction, discipline gives you consistency, adversity gives you strength, and lifelong self-development gives you momentum. When these come together, transformation is no longer a hope, it becomes a process. You don't rebuild yourself in a moment of excitement, but in moments of decision, repeated daily. Each small improvement, each disciplined choice, each lesson learned under pressure reshapes your future. The power to change has always been within your reach, waiting for your commitment. When you decide to grow, life responds. When you change yourself, everything around you begins to change with you. I wish you the courage to take responsibility, the patience to stay disciplined, and the strength to grow through every challenge you face. May you continue to rebuild yourself, one decision at a time, into the person you were meant to become.